Stan, I don't know what route we would go then, or direction we would go. We didn't even get an opportunity to have a meeting with them today, so, because of our timing. So, I just think, if we want to get rid of them, let's just get rid of them, but I'm not gonna post it. I'm not gonna vote to post it. But I don't think he'll be eligible to, because I don't agree with that. I do think that, it's gonna be preference, and then we'll play the game of, we'll play the game we always do, and if we wanna get rid of him, just get rid of him. He'll leave. If we don't have no confidence in him, he will. And let's go down a different path, if that's what we need to do, but. And DJ, you brought this forward time and time again. I'm not saying that to you, I'm just saying in general.
Oh, I don't actually.
Don't care.
No, it's not a matter of don't care. I don't take it personal. I look at it, this is policy, this is procedure. If it was any other job, we wouldn't be worried about, like for example, we don't say, I wonder how Bill feels.
And my opinion is,
we don't say,
he'll leave. He'll leave. So
my opinion is, we need to follow our policies. We need to do what we're supposed to do in accordance with our budgets and procedures. And if we're not, we need to throw them out the window because we're not following them. And we need to show that same compassion and concern for our own tribal members and our team members that are permanent team members and the part-time temporary ones that were just now created, that we do for individuals.
But a majority of this board went on a path to hire a temporary. He's still temporary. We should make a plan to at least move forward if he's not going to be that.
And it's not a debate as far as that goes. The person would still be temporary even if the job was posted because a temporary position is not the permanent position. That's the entire point.
I said how I was going to go.
Any other questions or comments? So the board has the authority to vote how they want to do this. The fact that you voted to create a consultant rather than an employee was a decision that you collectively made. You have the authority to interview only tribal applicants if you wish. You have the authority to interview tribal and non-tribal together. You have that authority. And I know there's a disagreement about whether or not the board has to follow policy. There's an assertion that the board has to follow policy, but we don't have any way of checking that. We don't have a separation of powers. We don't have anybody to arbitrate this to. And the board has the prerogative right now to follow policy or not follow policy. And in the posting of it, we didn't follow the policy when we did it, and you don't have to follow policy when you do interviews either. So it's up to you.
We pick and choose all the time. We do that.
I know, Jennifer.
But there's a third option, and we've talked about that before. Follow policy, or if we see that the policy isn't working, then we can change the policy. That's a third option. And right now, do I think that we should follow policy? Yes, I think we should follow policy. But I also know that there have been times in the past with this board that when it was felt that the good of the tribal organization was at risk, that's probably how we got past 6 months with this. And I'm concerned where, is this a good policy now? We're in a situation where we've had a turnaround going and things have been happening, and if we're satisfied with that, do we want to terminate this path just because we have a policy? Is it a good policy? Because look at the situation that we're in. And I don't know the answer to it. I don't know if this is an opportunity to change a policy that isn't working. Or do we just go ahead and follow policy?
Anybody else?
Kim.
Kim.
If we would have followed policy back in February, we would have had a permanent CEO. And are we going to just continue to go on, not follow policy?
That's why I suggested the third option as a possibility, not a recommendation.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I got one.
Right.
Nobody up here actually can effectuate a person being hired other than yourself and staff being directed, correct?
No.
No, I'm saying we can't actually
No.
do the actual...
This is your employee.
What I'm saying,
position will be your
that's
employee.
not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the processing of the paperwork to hire someone. Has to be facilitated by what?
HR.
Right. The actual background checks has to be done by HR, right? All of these things, payroll, gaming commission, all those things, right? Which means what? They have to follow policy. So we can't force employees to violate policy. So the whole notion that the board can violate policy all they want, those employees can't. So we cannot impress upon them to continue to violate these policies that they're supposed to enforce. And that's why this comes up.
Okay. All right, without objection, we'll have a roll call vote.
I just want to say one
Kathy.
thing. I have wanted to have, because it's a personnel issue, a closed session. And we didn't, so that's all I got to say.
Okay.
Bridget,
No.
Lana,
No.
DJ,
Yes?
Kathy,
Abstain.
Rita,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Abstain.
Denise,
Yes.
Keith,
No.
Denny. 2, 4, 2, 4. Darcy,
Yes.
motion carries.
Yeah. Okay, motion carries. It's 5-4, the majority took.
What
Two
was it?
abstentions. 5-4 and 2 abstentions, the majority took. Alrighty, so next is, buildings.
Be it further resolved that the board of
What'd you
directors,
say? It passed.
It passed.
It passed.
Oh, I thought you said it didn't, it was the opposite.
No, it passed. 5-4 with 2 abstentions, that's the majority of the board present. Doesn't require a positive majority.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It didn't.
No, it didn't, because it's
follow
not
policy.
changing something previously done.
Yeah, because we've never posted it.
Right. Yeah. Okay, buildings.
be it further resolved that the board of directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the establishment of a FY 2016 budget for buildings, 2930 Shunk Road with building funds monies of $7,710.04. Motion.
Second.
Motion and support, Bill.
If I could just make a quick correction.
No.
The title for, the resolution has 2390, which I believe is the correct address, and the wording says 2930. I don't know if that makes any difference, but the correct address is 2390.
Without objection, we will, in the resolve section, it will be 2390.
2390 is the correct one?
Yeah.
Okay, this budget modification will allow us to institute any needed payments on behalf of this parcel of property on Shunk Road for 2015 and 16, as any expenses that might come up, which might include property taxes, small amount of repair and maintenance, any remaining utility costs, insurance, accounting fees, and travel back and forth for 2015, and some of the same amounts, and then any repairs and maintenance in 2016, and we will probably come back with a modification for 2016 in the spring.
Okay, DJ.
Sure you just don't want the 12 grand to tear it down? Honestly,
If you
instead of
wanted to
spending
modify it, you could.
instead of spending 7 and then spending 12, why not just make it 12 and tear it down?
The question is, would we be able to do it before the end of the fiscal year?
Well, this would be in 16, we wouldn't do it this year.
You're asking, no, he's
I'm
asking.
just
to do it
asking.
now.
Yeah, it's a dozer in a dumpster. isn't it? It's a dozer in a dumpster.
Right.
Then you don't have to pay insurance on it, it's gone.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it's up to you folks.
Try the
I don't know,
board.
I'm assuming we could get it torn down yet this year.
Taxes.
So that would be a motion,
We wouldn't need the next year except for the taxes.
so we need a new number though. So is anybody gonna make a motion for that?
Actually, there's a list of, I have questions on just the merit of the resolution
Okay,
before you guys
Lana.
start talking about all that. When we originally went down this avenue, how much were we originally approving with this whole package?
As far as the purchase or?
Yeah,
I'd have to go back and look, I don't remember. It was 30, and then there was some improvements to be done across the street.
right.
Roof and flooring, and those.
Were we told that we would have to incur these costs when we passed the first resolution though?
I wasn't there when you passed the first resolution.
Were we told you were, Aaron?
I'm not sure what happened.
I mean, cause we passed something and then.
Bill brought it to our attention that we would need to pass a budget.
We have to have a budget
Oh, I know
because I
we
can't
have a
spend any
budget,
money.
It wasn't part of the action that we took,
Right.
No.
and that's why he brought us to our attention that we should do that, and we didn't do it then, but that's consistent. Any other discussion or amendments?
What's the amount?
Huh?
What's the amount?
We don't know.
The amount's what's in front of us.
No, he's asking what the amount is if we would have do the, I mean, it's a good question.
It's just a
But
question.
before we discuss it, we should have a motion.
Right.
All right, motion to amend to not to exceed 12 grand. You're paying yourself, so it should be easy not to exceed 12 grand, right? Is there-
Well, 12 was an estimate to tear it down, there would still be some additional costs.
15.
Not to exceed 15 grand, I'm sorry, what
All
that?
right, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and support, it's not to do, for the 15 budget modification, to set it at 15, not to exceed 15,000, it will be actual, it won't be more than that. And, but it's to do it in 15 rather than 16, and do we have to bid that, or?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Without objection, it would be, granted to Suchak Construction.
Well, Sutrad Construction has first right of refusal for anything over $10,000.
Okay, they already had it, all right, we don't need to do that. Okay,
Anything over? You mean anything under?
Over.
I didn't do that. Okay. Okay, all in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
I oppose.
Please raise your hand if you oppose, so that Joanne can see.
Me?
Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. So that's the amendment, so we go back to the main motion, which includes the amendment. Is there any other discussion?
So this one is 15,000 now,
Not
correct?
to exceed.
Yeah, okay.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? One opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
You are persistent. Okay. Next is continuing funding authority.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors approves continuing funding for the attached cost centers for fiscal year 2016 at their 2015 spending levels for a period not to exceed 30 days.
Motion's approved.
Second.
Motion and support, and Bill is here again.
Okay, in September, no, must have been August, we did for 90 days, and that expires at the end of this week. And so this will give an additional 30 days for the attached cost centers so that we can work on the budgets on Monday and Tuesday.
Is there any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah.
Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Jenny's opposed. Any abstain? Motion carries. All right, thank you. Next is JKL Fiduciary Committee, FY 2016 budget modification.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the FY 2016 budget modification to School Fiduciary Committee for an increase in expenses of $186,000 with funding coming from prior year PIA funds. No effect on travel support.
Motion to approve.
Motion and support, and we have Bill.
Okay, this will allow the replacement of roof, $110,000 for the 10-room modular that's along Marquette Avenue there. Exterior repairs, there's some, because of the roof leaking, there has been some paint chipping and whatnot on the front of the modulars, so we're looking at repairing that. In the boiler room, and there's a room off the current gymnasium, we're having asbestos removed, and then we're moving funds that were carried over from the year before into the program expense to be expensed as approved.
Are there any questions or comments? Questions?
There's nothing in here where they're responsible for any of that? That we,
The lease says that we're responsible for the building envelope and the outside areas.
The roofs actually were a product of Chip MacArthur. What the goal is those roofs have been leaking for some time periodically, and Chip spends a lot of time fixing them. And this is O&M money, the operations and maintenance funds. So they're going to replace both roofs on the main building and the 3-5 wing, which is the modular, with it's like a vinyl roof, vinyl membrane. It's different than rubber. It's like a vinyl something, which has a 15-year warranty. So no longer will he have to go there. And it should, alleviate that. Plus that other issue is I think it's just a small piece of whatever was left of the asbestos that was in that one room that was cleaned out before it's the final. I don't even know how big it is for the amount actually.
It'll be very big.
Just a little
We've had
piece, but-
asbestos removed from there already.
Yeah.
In the boiler room.
they're probably supposed to get that part too and didn't do it.
Any other questions or
Do
comments?
it.
I think if there ever was a legitimate purpose for spending these funds, this is absolutely it. So, okay, without objection, we will have a roll call vote.
Darcy,
Yes.
DJ,
Yes.
Jennifer, Denise,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Rita, Kim,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Denny.
Yep.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is committee requests.
Yes, removed, right?
It was Nick.
That was
So it's only one?
Only one. There was only one.
Eviction?
Can we, I would ask that we place that on Monday and Tuesday's items for discussion.
Actually, first, we need a motion and support first, and then we'll refer. Oh, without objection, we will move the evictions item to Tuesday.
And Monday for discussion. Thank you.
It's 2 minutes, Monday and Tuesday.
We'll put that one.
Tuesdays?
Okay, with that, we do have, I would like to ask for the board to adjourn, and then we'll do I'm gonna ask the objection before we do that. There are two member issues where they came here before we were, during the 4 to 6 time period, if we can hear their issues. Is there any objection to that? Okay.
We adjourn
So we adjourn?
Yes. Without objection, we're adjourned? Okay, so we'll go to the member issues first, and we might have to go into close, I don't know. You didn't write it, but, Jerry, you can go first. You want to close or open? Okay, you're first.
It's up to you. It's what you want.
You can sit in the chair if you're comfortable. You're fine. It's up to you.
As you all know, my position was eliminated in December, and housing and traveling every day. But after 20, almost 21 years, I'm starting over at ground zero, and I've been applying in HR for positions regularly, and I wasn't even given an opportunity to interview just recently on an HR rep position, which I've done for many years, traveling through the night to do drug testing, whatever the position called for, I did, and I have a pristine record. And I'm just wondering, when you had brought up earlier, when you were talking about, following the tribal preference and ensuring that HR is doing things right, where does that start? Because HR is not following their own policies and procedures that have been set up by you as a board. And I was always taught in the understanding of my position in HR was to ensure that the fairness and the policies were followed. And now that I'm on the outside looking in, I see where things have changed in the last, say, 6 months to a year, or maybe a little bit longer. Things started going downhill, and I'm just wondering, why and how we're ever going to succeed if they're not following their own policies and treating each other with respect.
So the board voted at the previous meeting to conduct a audit of the HR department, so that did get approved. With respect to your individual situation, because I don't know if the job description changed, but Christine can review it to see if you met the criteria.
I did meet the criteria, and I also had interviewed prior to that, also along with one of my previous coworkers that was also let go, and either one of us had success in getting the assistant's position of what we had done for several years.
So what I'm trying to say though is, because I don't know if the job description changed from when you had it. All right, so I'm taking your word for it, but Christine can review it and report back to the board to see if you met the criteria and you weren't granted an interview, and report that back to the board. And that'll jump ahead because you brought it to our attention. It won't get put in the pile of the audit, which we haven't hired anybody. And so we'll do that as quickly as we can and get a response back to the board and a response back to you.
Okay, and as far as HR following policy, I also think that something needs to change. We oversee a little bit tighter and changes need to be made because they're not following their own policies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You did.
Second.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, you. Why, thank you for your professional response. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, next is Helen. Is yours open or closed? It doesn't say.
It's open.
Okay.
I'm very shy. I asked some questions and turned in my paperwork on the 2nd, and I didn't know what the time frame is on a response back. I was supposed to get a response back, or at least get something. I haven't received anything.
Turned your paperwork into where?
On that form, it said I would get
Okay.
a response back,
Yep.
and that people would be following up.
So I did respond to your questions as we were meeting yesterday. If something wasn't clear in the way I responded.
There were some things I requested in writing, and I haven't received anything.
Okay, what were they?
I believe the org chart.
There was an org chart and there was something else. I don't remember what was on it.
Well, you have a
I didn't get a
copy
copy
of it,
because there's not a copy of it here, but.
Wait, which org chart? Just the overall org chart?
Yeah.
Okay. And you,
I'll get her paperwork from last meeting.
okay.
It's not just, this is.
It's
every
always
time we
been-
come
Yeah, I
in,
asked for
we need
responses.
somebody to come down and respond to us. But a lot of members don't, they just don't come back, they don't ask anymore, because they think that they don't, they're not.
Let's do it all done
important to get any
ourselves.
answers. So
Well, that's why I
it's
drove up
frustrating.
half an hour. That's why I was getting upset that I didn't get to speak.
And I thought that, don't you, your staff, aren't they supposed to be, the liaison supposed to be helping with the responses to this?
No, we volunteered that in the past, but she hasn't requested it in my office, she requested it at the board. So Joanne and I will talk tomorrow
It says it
about the
on the
request.
bottom of the request form.
Okay.
It says it on the bottom of the.
We don't get a copy of it.
On the one she did at
We'll be
that
able to
meeting, she
respond
gave
to it.
us 2 weeks ago or whatever.
Are you saying we're supposed to respond to her?
I'm saying the liaisons are not responsible for that. We have volunteered that by having them come to meetings in the past, but that's not the requirement when it comes to this.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's,
Well, when Trish was here, Trish always sent responses when she was here as your liaison, because she's an admin assistant / liaison. And that was the reason that you used the rationale. So now all of a sudden we're hearing something different, so I guess, you know, it just
If
depends.
the board has to
So-
respond to somebody, let us know so we can figure out someone to do it.
We have a board secretary
Yeah,
and
we
she
do.
has an assistant.
yeah, and we will do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to know.
Okay, so the arch, well, we'll go back and get your sheet so we don't
Exactly,
miss it.
it's on the sheet when I requested and I didn't know where I was supposed to go, that's why I came back here.
All right, so what we'll do is, because I think I dropped the ball because I thought we answered your questions in the meeting, but I did forget, obviously, you wanted the org chart, and there was something else.
There was something else on there that I requested in writing. Can you tell me where we are on the audit? Like, do we have step 1 started?
Okay, that's not on your issues, but, I think,
Okay, I can take that back
I
off.
asked Joanne to put it on the workshop next time.
okay,
Okay, that,
because we have to find the scope of that,
okay, that was
because,
just
yeah, all right.
Just a quick, that was all.
I did this something similar to this at another job that I worked for, and we don't wanna do it that way, because it ended up being a couple $100,000, and we appropriated, I think, 10,000, so it's a much smaller scope. And it's a little bit different, because there were specifics about interviewing past team members, and we gotta define how that scope would work. So we need to, we have it on a workshop to talk, define the scope of it.
So then I guess the other thing on my question was, and it might not be, I might not be in everybody's employees' best thing, but I know you're gonna talk about this at the next meeting, or your special meeting regarding the pay raises and bonuses and things like that. I guess, and this is my opinion, I can't say that it's anyone else's, but as an employee and a tribal member, I don't think fiscally responsible of giving a 3% raise across the board is fiscally responsible. When we've done this before, the 25-cent raise, we had to lay off people not too long after that. Some departments cannot handle giving their staff a raise, some departments can. That all needs to be looked at. If we have enough money in 2015 right now because things have looked good, and you wanna tell your employees, great job, thank you for the work you've done, give them a small bonus if you can. That'd be great. That would show them that you're making that effort to see their needs. But to just go across the board and not even be, thinking about that, you're talking 3% to somebody that makes $25,000 a year, which is an average, not even minimum wage person, but a little over minimum wage, is gonna be $750,000, $750 a year. A top executive, $180,000 a year at 3% is $5,400 a year. That's saying what to your employees? Your top executives deserve more.
So I've got some good news for you. Because first of all, I agree with that idea, but I'm called a socialist all the time. Because you're right, because somebody who makes $100,000, or 3%, is multiples of somebody who makes $20,000.
I'm not saying they don't deserve a raise though.
But here's the good news. Here's the good news. The good news is, and we shared this with the board when we were doing the budget planning for this year, is we asked all the departments to plan it into the budget, and they did.
Yeah.
And it is feasible. It's economically feasible. We will end up next year with a positive bottom line, even with doing the raises. So it is feasible.
Didn't we just pass a continuing budget because we haven't passed the 2016 budgets for a lot of them?
It's only temporary until we go through and we review the 16 budget. We also reviewed for the 15 and the bonuses. The board had, in December of last year, had identified $550,000 for the purpose of bonuses. We've identified that it's going to be less than $200,000. So we have, and with that,
In the pay grade, we don't make enough. I would rather have you
No, you didn't understand what I said. Ellen, the cost is less than 200,000.
It's not a debate.
And everybody will get, almost everybody will get an increase. Most team members will get a bonus and a raise if we pass this. And it is economically feasible, because that was a driver. We had to make sure that we could balance the budget this year and next year. So we've gone through all those numbers, and it's doable.
I would still like to see that we fix the pay grids correctly, not just the horn group, not just the top executives. Fix the pay grid from the bottom up.
So-
Make the people that are on the front line feel appreciated, fix it from the bottom
So
up.
theoretically, we have the pay scales. We have brought everybody up to the
You don't
min.
work at the bottom.
Yeah, the pay compression issue is still an issue. It's clear it is. Some people are paid over what they should be. There's still people over the max. But the board has frozen them, at least. They're frozen. All right, so we can afford it. The good news is we can
Well,
afford
that's
it.
great, I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, board issues.
nobody else responds?
I don't have any designation that any are or
Yep, my first one is,
Who's what?
so let's do the open ones, and then we'll, then, once we go in the closed, people can decide if they wanna leave or not. We'll be going in the back, but we'll do the open ones first. Lana, which ones are yours are open?
my, just the top one's closed, so my other two, what are they, I forgot.
Positions in Hessel?
Oh, we have two positions that have been vacant here I talked to Christina, to be fair, I talked to Christine this afternoon, but I've talked to her quite a few different times, and she's had to adjust too. We've had a health tech position in the back vacant for all summer long. And, I think she finally found out that it is going to be, there's been a selection made, and they are getting hold of the people. It just is, it's, that long is unacceptable. Same with our YA coordinator. We've had, the positions open for a couple of months now, and, when those positions are vacant, that's services down here in this area, that we're not getting, and we hardly get any now. So when a position for a health tech in the back, I don't know, I think it was maybe June, the beginning of summer she left. So there hasn't been a health tech here.
So you're gonna do, you're gonna review to see what the reasons for the time, and see if it was done properly, if there's any issues. Because sometimes what we find out is either we're not paying enough, so we can't.
And that's not the case here. That's
Okay.
not the case, so.
And it could be background checks, it could be any number of things.
Yes, so that. Could be the process. Could be how the process takes.
Jenny Odell said it was not elect services, but she had been sending down a community check down here for Sue. Certainly must not be every day.
And it must not be information that I know, because I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So
so that's what she responded to me.
that's good, if that was happening.
I'm gonna help you, Laura, and this is not all correct, because there was someone hired here. And all the paperwork, everything was done, and the girl got another offer for a better job. So they did all that stuff, there's 4 people that were offered this position, that's why they did hire one.
But the
Yeah, they accepted. Yeah. I mean,
see
so
that,
that's what I'm saying.
that's what they got audited, because the process takes so long.
And it would be Jenny's fault, because that has to go to HR. She doesn't even see the people, the HR sends the job application because they have to have certain qualifications, right? And HR figures it out.
So here's what we'll do. Christine will do a report back to the board for both positions, because there's always another side of the story.
Absolutely.
And see if unnecessarily either position
I'll
was,
see what time it's like.
okay, the YEA coordinator and the health tech. Okay, thank you.
And I
Ms.
had
Tucci.
Yeah, that is closed, because that's an employee one. So I have 2 closed.
All right, next is Bridget.
I just wanted to make a statement that we hear all the time when we talk about drug testing how random it is. And I want to know what you guys think of if somebody gets busted for possession of marijuana in the newspaper and within a week they get a random drug test, is that really random, or did somebody read the paper and make a phone call? I just,
It's a new hit list.
yeah, just kinda wondering when we hear it's always random, but that just happened, so. My other one was.
It could be a reasonable suspicion.
No, this was a random.
Yeah, good question. So we're gonna bring that in December, right? Adopting the other?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing is, why do we charge tribal members that have, issues that need a PPO? Why are we charging people that have a PPO? They might really not be able to afford to have a PPO, but they need to be protected.
We passed it.
It's in the code.
We passed that code.
So it's in the code that requires, because I'm not aware of this, but we charge
just
them
passed
the
that
paperwork.
code just a month ago, the PPO code, and we passed it saying that they have to go through this whole thing at court.
I know the process, but the pay, I wasn't aware of that.
Oh.
So, John, can you follow up on this? Is there a charge for filing the paperwork for a PPO, or are we passing that off to the person who is filing the PPO? If anything, we should charge it to the person who is the threat.
Right.
No, because you could just make an assertion.
What you check from is in your server.
Remember,
John,
we had
follow
this
up on that
conversation
one.
about assertions earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, you're right.
So you don't just get to.
They are or aren't? Okay. Oh, well, all right, John's gonna follow up, so we know that for sure, but, okay. I don't know why we would do that, that doesn't make any sense.
I think any court normally has a filing fee for filing cases. I think the question would be whether there is a process that would permit waiver of fees for indigents.
That was in there too, I believe. Yep.
So how do you
So
There's
how
a
much are we
hardship.
being charged, like 50 cents or $200? How much, $25?
There's a hardship in there, so they can waive it.
Waiver for extended. So if there is that waiver, we need to communicate to the court to explain that there is a waiver for extinguishers when the people file. We can't assume that they're gonna read the code and know that.
They have to.
Okay, next is Darcy.
Response to questions. It seems like every time we send out emails, and I know just last week Joanne sent out a couple emails on example of the fishing before. Team members didn't respond back to Joanne's email. Neither did you as far as what was being done on the Cora. That's just an example. I could go on and on. I could write a book. But it's just the lack of her. I mean, tonight, 2 weeks, she doesn't have an answer. We're board members and we ask for stuff, so don't feel bad because we could go months if we don't get things. So, and it's every day of the week, it seems like. You can just ask somebody. I gotta remember 3 weeks ago, oh yeah, somebody sent me a thing I asked. Nobody responds back to you. So now I gotta keep track of calendar, all this other stuff, and I'm worried about taking care of issues with team members and with the membership. I don't have time to be tracking who I asked what. And it's just gotten worse as the administration goes on, and it just seems like it's worse. And I just think that we need to start, making people report when they're asked questions, and if not, hold them accountable, write them out. Maybe if people start getting written up, they might start doing something.
Mr. Chair, I have a recommendation.
Yes.
I recommend that procedure be written out, so, and however the procedure is, and it be followed so these people can get a quick answer. And given to all of us so we know.
What if we have a policy?
Okay, Farm Tech.
Farm tech, bar tech.
Yeah, pharmacy tech.
Oh, wait, Lana.
I do want to follow up on Darcy's there and make a comment. Do we have a follow-up membership and board form still? We had one, because sporadically I would get responses to some things, but she's right. Where are we at with that? We are gonna have this big And I know that you guys don't have the same staff, but that is absolutely true. We ask questions and we cannot remember. I have a running list of my concerns, and I have to go through them all the time. And you guys don't want to sit here with all my concerns every single night. I know you do.
So I guess,
You're right.
All I get. There's gotta be a resolve to that because we just look very untouched.
so I've gotta say though,
It's an
because
easy one,
even
too.
though sometimes the response is not good, sometimes the board members who bring up issues continuously, we have the resolve, and we have written that we copy to all
That's
of you,
right.
and
But
you all
some are
know.
not answered though, Aaron.
Well, actually, we have, in some cases we have. So I started out with saying there are some that we haven't, but there's also some that we copy to all of you that you know the responses were given. You collectively know as a body that they were given. And some will keep bringing the same issues up, and I don't understand how, if everybody else knows they were answered, that you don't individually know their answer. So we obviously need a better process collectively, and so we'll have to revisit it and bring it back. I mean, we were lucky when we had Trish because she developed a system, but people were complaining about it just as much when Trish was here. So it's not like the glory days.
I guess, Karen, do you understand you were on that email? You think that's okay, that nobody commented? That Cora, I had a fisherman call in and find out, did the boat happen? Did he try to get Cora? I said, I don't know. I sent Joanne not one, but 2 emails asking Joanne, did you hear a response?
So
I got
Schlager
no
was
response.
responsible
He
for
didn't
doing the
respond.
follow-up. I asked him when the board members raised it, and he responded back that we didn't have another tribe that was willing to request a conference call.
We never got a thing, because I asked Joanne today, I double checked before I brought this up here. I said, Joanne, I'm not gonna make myself look bad. Double check, did no response. I said, I thought so, but I just wanted to ask in case I missed an email.
But as a point of information, we knew nothing was done, otherwise we would have heard about it on Facebook, right?
There's only one.
To be clear, I mean, that's right, that's what would
I
happen.
don't get my information off of Facebook.
I don't either, but
It's
I'm just
gossip.
saying.
Okay. All right, Rita.
Christine, or just, I don't know who, but the YK coordinator in Munising is gone, thanks to us, and it's not posted. I'd like to know when it's gonna be posted, because we're gonna go through a school year again without a YK coordinator.
Yeah, there's, going after your position, there's 3 positions that are open in YA right now, and it's waiting for policy and fill out. So,
I'll send it by.
the administrative assistant for the YA.
Well, I'd like to know when that's gonna happen, please. Thank you.
They were supposed to put in today, so I sent Laura a message and asked if she got it.
Thank you.
DJ.
That is a request from a tribe member to have the agenda emailed to him.
The agenda sent to him?
Yeah. If he can get on the list, he was looking for the member list, and the only one up here was the board one, so I just wrote it down.
So we don't send out the agenda to people via email. We don't do that now.
Hey, it was a request.
Okay, I know, but I'm just responding. We're supposed to be posting it.
We do. It goes on the
It is
website.
So we can go to the website, so we can email a response to him to tell him it's on the
I
website.
think he was looking at the Cora dates and the.
No, that's board and It was, no, he.
Email they all.
Okay, so we did say that we would send out the meetings for next week.
Two,
Or not next week, when on the 15th. We don't have a list, we do have the conservation committee list, but.
Yeah, we don't have emails for all
Aaron, I
fish.
wanna get on the
We're
list
lucky if we
Now,
got
listen,
4.
to be clear, nothing in that question said, do we have a list about fishermen? There's a tribal member who asked if he could be put on a list to get those emails.
But we don't do that.
Or if he could get an email with the stuff. So he could get an email that says, we don't do that, but you can find the
Okay,
meeting
we'll
information
send
here.
them in, yes, that's what we'll do.
See?
I'll get it, I'll forward it to
Yeah.
Kathy wants to be on the list.
Okay.
I'll tell him there'll probably be lots of lists in about 3
Just
months.
wait.
Kim, do you have any?
I'm not gonna be
closed?
It's not gonna
Denise
be.
is closed. So I just have one open one before we.
Mine's not closed.
Oh, Captain.
No, what I wanna bring up is I'm hoping once the audit committee gets going, Lana brought up about 2 positions here, when is it gonna get hired? So, you're not the only one, it happens everywhere. So let's keep that in mind, and that's one of the things that need to be checked. How long does the process take? And the other one, about posting, just the way it is, what happens is, staff are, and I know this from various people, they have to do the job description, they send it to HR, and then if it's not good enough, then it gets sent back, and then then you do whatever you can, and then it gets sent back, and then if something else, and has to get sent back, and that's happens, and that's what makes a long process. And we gotta improve that, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because I think it should be treated as a whole, because it's a big issue, it's a problem within the whole organization, and it's not just here and not with just certain positions.
Yeah.
Can I just say something to that? I've been through that exact process. I feel it should be the director's responsibility with HR to draft those job descriptions and then they be given to legal for verbiage and then approved by the board. And this should be done in a timely manner. I just don't see why, because what we've been doing in the past, and I've seen it, is writing the job description to fit the person. And that's not right. And I've seen it.
So we have streamlined the process. We have a flow chart that shows that. The part, we need to double check to make sure if we're getting bottlenecks and somehow we got off task on that. But we did present that to the board. But the other part that is the unknown is when you get tripped up with, like we just ferreted it out. We've been waiting for a long time for this position, but one by one, and we had the same thing in community health. One by one, we went through people, we offered them the position, they refused because of the amount, we go to the next person, we offer to them, they refuse it. And each time you do that, then you gotta do background checks, and that whole thing is not within our control. So I don't know how, we could maybe pre-qualify people for certain positions, and then that would streamline the process, but we can bring back that presentation, go through it again, see if there's some bottlenecks that are happening, and maybe do an analysis of positions for the last 6 months to see if there's an inordinate amount of time that's filled, and then find out why. Something could be going on.
HR is ready for that presentation, we're just waiting to get on the board agenda, so we can schedule that, they've been working on it, and we can come forward.
Okay, so the one thing that I wanted to say before we go into closed session, DJ.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't want a job description written specifically for somebody, don't give it to the board.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
Okay, don't give it to the board. Because it probably will be different, I'll say.
Okay, I just wanted to make an announcement. It got up maybe last week that we received a large grant for travel education. It's a travel education grant for $300,000 for 1 year, with the opportunity to be renewed for another 2 years at $300,000 for each year. So we're talking about potentially $900,000. And I want to recognize the team members who wrote the application. They're under Christine's direction. Who contributed was Ann Suggett. It is to build comprehensive education planning and capacity in the tribe. Larry Jocks was involved, but the main draftsperson was Nicole Cosley, who brought us $900,000 over the next 3 years. So I want to recognize Nicole. And I know it's her job and she's gotta do it anyway, but we gotta recognize people when they bring that kind of money into the job. So thank you. All right, now we're going, the meeting's adjourned, we're going to close, we're not coming back into open session. We're not voting on anything else tonight, so we have to very.
Enrollment issue. We're bitching, don't tear that up.
Can we take that in?
Yeah.
And Jesse can give me a definite answer?
Yeah.
Okay.